Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, why is Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton filing papers to run for Secretary of State? We'll ask him. Also tonight, we'll look at increasing concerns over the Affordable Care Act in Arizona. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona continues to attract a lot of attention this election cycle. Republican vice presidential candidate Mike Pence is now set to appear at the Mesa Convention Center tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Pence will be here the same day that Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton holds a rally at the ASU campus in Tempe. That event is scheduled to begin at 6:30 p.m. And then on Thursday, Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Kaine is scheduled to campaign in Phoenix and in Tucson. And the numbers are in for October's temperatures in the valley. The result, one of the warmest Octobers in history. The average temperature was 81 degrees. That's over 4 degrees above normal, with the average high of 93.4. That's 5 degrees above normal. October also featured 26 straight days with highs of 90 degrees or more. That's a record. And just to top it off, the month saw less than normal rainfall. Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton joins us every month to discuss a variety of city issues. Tonight, we look at Sky Harbor expansion plans and maybe even some expansion plans of sorts for Greg Stanton himself. Here now is Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton.
Good evening. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So you file papers to run for Secretary of State. Why?
Well, I love public service. I love the service that I've been able to do at City Council and now as mayor I'm in my second term. And as much as I would love to continue serving as mayor, it's an awesome job in public service. I'm term limited at 2 terms. So I've looked at other public service opportunities. The state legislature did pass a law that said that if you do have any remaining resources in your political account, you have to transfer it to a state account by X date. Otherwise, you won't be able to. It'll be banned. Well, if I wanted to at least have the option of continuing public service beyond mayor, I had to transfer that option and file for a particular office, and that's what we did today.
Why Secretary of State?
Well, it's a great leadership opportunity. Obviously, the ability to oversee city elections and do all you can to advocate for expanding the voter base, providing as many opportunities for people to participate in this great democracy of ours, I think is a unique leadership opportunity. I don't want to go too far into it because there'll be plenty of time to have a great debate about the important issues that the Secretary of State has the opportunity to lead over and propose policy changes. But I'm focused on this election cycle because, as you mentioned in the opening, we have an incredibly important election cycle going on right now. The only reason I filed now, it wouldn't have been my preferred choice. I did it because otherwise I would have been legally precluding from transferring resources to an account. So we'll have plenty of time to have a healthy debate about the future of the state, in particular the issues at the Secretary of State's office, but that will be for another time.
I'm looking forward to that other time. But right now, do you think that, because the current Secretary of State files as well, she's going to run for re-election, is she not doing a good job? Could some things change? Could some things improve?
Well, I would say this. We're going to have a healthy debate about the issues of the Secretary of State office. We're going to have that probably beginning early next year. Right now, the timing of my filing was based upon the need to transfer money. Otherwise, I would have been precluded from doing so. The legislature, by the way, changed that law on the last day of the legislative session. You'll have to ask them why they did it. That being said, I'm going to comply with what the requirements of that law, make that transfer now, and the time for that debate about the issues, about what leadership I think I will provide to the Secretary of State's office, that'll be for a future time.
But you must think you could be an improvement, or else you wouldn't run. I mean, correct?
I love public service. And I think that the public service that I've been fortunate enough to provide to the city of Phoenix to really advance our economy, build a more innovative export-based economy, building a future based on transportation investments, being the first big city in the country to eliminate chronic homelessness among our veteran population, getting a perfect score on our human rights campaign, and oh, by the way, helping to run elections at the city, which have been very, very successful. All of those leadership characteristics, I think, I'll be lucky enough to utilize in the position of Secretary of State. Again, we'll have a time
Okay.
for a very, very healthy discussion and debate, as we should, for this incredibly important position for the state of Arizona, but that'll be for another time.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, all right. One last thing on this. Some folks are going to be concerned. Obviously, you're termed out, but still in all, they're worried you might lose focus, you might lose energy in what your job is right now. How do you respond to that?
Normally I get the argument I've got too much energy, I'm too hyped up to serve as mayor and the exciting opportunities. Look, I am so blessed and lucky to serve in this position, and I'm going to continue to serve until I possibly can in my position as mayor of the city of Phoenix. It's an awesome leadership opportunity. It's an awesome opportunity to make a very positive difference in people's lives. And I love public service, and I think people are going to be amazed that there will be no loss of any focus, just the opposite, and even increased focus on serving the people of our great city.
That healthy debate you repeatedly referred to is not going to distract you then?
Not at all. No, I love this job. I've got a great team helping me serve in the mayor's office, a great professional staff associated with it. I want to emphasize that point because it is an important point. Part of being a strong leader is to surround yourself with strong professional staff who also serve the people of this city. I've been very blessed to have strong professional staff along with me, and we do a great job, and I love the service that I'm able to provide to the people of the city of Phoenix.
Let's go to Sky Harbor here. $950 million expansion. That thing is always being expanded. What's happening now?
They're the #1 indicator of the economy of our community, not just city of Phoenix, not just Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, is whether or not people are flying in and out of Sky Harbor Airport. And we've been lucky the last few years to have record number of flights in and out of Sky Harbor each of those years, and we're not going to stop. You got to keep investing in that important asset. The #1 economic engine for the state of Arizona is that airport. You have to have the courage to continue to invest, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're obviously making massive improvements right now as we speak at Terminal 3. For Terminal 4, we're going to be adding some gates. We're going to be adding gates to the level that airlines that fly in at Sky Harbor can bring bigger airplanes to Sky Harbor Airport, so we keep up with the times. We've got to continue to innovate, and we're going to make it easier for folks to get to the rental car facility. You know, people visiting here on business, visiting our hotels, our resorts, and doing business here in this community helps advance our economy. And so the rental car business is important to Sky Harbor, important to our local business community, and we want to make that experience as customer friendly as possible.
So we got added gates on T4. We're going to have expanded light, whatever you call it. Is it trains?
Sky Trains.
Sky Train.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, we got that going out to the rental car center. $950 million. How's this being paid for?
It is not being paid for by the general fund of the city, so it will not in any way compete with the money that would otherwise be utilized for police officers, firefighters. Actually, the airport is run as what's called an enterprise fund, meaning all of the revenue generated from the airport goes back into the airport. So all of the money utilized for this very important capital infrastructure improvements will be paid through resources generated from the airport itself, not outside the airport. That's a very important distinction.
There will be bonds, though, will there not?
Well, there'll be bonds, but the revenue source for the bonds will be revenue generated from the airport itself, through passenger facility charges, through revenues generated by the airport. It will not come out of the city's general fund, which is the source of money that we pay for core services like police, fire, parks, and libraries. Fortunately, the airport is set up as a separate, independent, what they call enterprise fund, and the resources will come from that.
I want to go back to the rental car center because you hear stories that folks are waiting in line too much out there. That's why you need to expand the SkyTrain out there. Why don't you move the rental car center closer to where the SkyTrain already is?
Well, because that land is already accounted for future airport expansion. So the best long-term investment, and we invested a significant amount of resources in the car rental facility. And oh, by the way, the car rental facility overall works well. It's a good investment. The car rental companies are very happy with that investment. It's been so popular that sometimes there is a wait to get on a bus to go to the car rental facility. We want to make that customer experience as friendly as possible. That's what we do in Phoenix. It's the friendliest airport in the world, and we don't just say that. We actually make investments consistent with that tagline. And so one of the things we're going to do is to make it easier for customers coming to Sky Harbor Airport to get as quickly as possible to the car rental facility.
This new construction begins when?
Well, there's two projects we're talking about. There's a $600 million Terminal 3 project going on right now as we speak.
Yes.
And so you'll see incredible improvements, modernization of Terminal 3. It's going to be a much more popular terminal for customers to utilize. The decision that we just made on the SkyTrain, I think will start next year.
Next year. Completed when?
Oh, it's going to take a couple years to get to full completion. Oh, by the way, it's going to put a lot of people, 1,000 people to work during construction phase. Those are very important construction jobs to this local economy.
Are those people that are being put to work going to get in the way? I mean, basically, is this going to be, are we going to be, you know, like all sorts of delays here by construction here, construction there? You know what I'm talking about.
No. In fact, we've just completed $150 million of phase 1 improvements at Terminal 3, and the passenger public barely felt it. The way we phase these projects is done in a way to make sure that it has the least amount of impact on the traveling public. I'm incredibly impressed by our Sky Harbor team, the contractors that we utilize. They are professionals, and they know how to do this in a way that minimizes the impact on the traveling public.
Last question on this. I know year-to-year passenger traffic out there has been a little bit down, and American obviously is adios here. Are you satisfied? Are you confident that they are going to keep Sky Harbor as a hub?
I got to be careful what you just said. I got to politely correct you. Last couple months have been a teeny bit dip down. Year to year, we've been doing great. Overall, over the last 2 years, Sky Harbor traffic has been up. And American, though their corporate headquarters left Phoenix, they still kept the same number of overall jobs here. So the C-suite jobs went to Fort Worth, Texas. They still kept 10,000 or so jobs here in our region, and thus far, we have not seen a decrease in the number of flights. They have committed to Sky Harbor as a hub within their system, and they've made the investments associated with the hub. Yes, there are changes that are going on, including, as you probably read about recently, pilots that are able to, now that the merger with going back to America West has been fully realized, pilots will be able to rebid positions, so we may lose some pilots that are not, quote, based out of Phoenix. But in terms of what the traveling public cares about, what the business community cares about, what people traveling on vacation cares about, which is the number of flights in and out of Sky Harbor, thus far we've held steady on that.
Okay, and you plan to continue to hold steady on this? They're not planning on pulling the hub out of here?
You know, I am the mayor of the city. I don't run American Airlines. We're in regular communication with American and Southwest, which fly about 80% of the flights in and out of Sky Harbor. Here's what I know. The best thing I can do as mayor is to make this, number one, the business climate as strong as possible in Phoenix so there's more demand for flights, and to make our airport the friendliest airport in America, because if and when American would ever decide to reduce gates in Sky Harbor, we want another airline to come right in, keep that competition going. So I love having American fly so many flights in and out of Sky Harbor, but if they ever make a choice the other direction, we're going to fill it right away.
Real quickly, a couple minutes left here. Jerry Williams takes over as Phoenix Police Chief. Your thoughts?
I couldn't be more excited. Jerry Williams is awesome. A homegrown Phoenician through and through, grew up in Maryville, went to Maryville High School, ASU, NAU, came up through the ranks. She is the ultimate street cop. I mean, she served the streets of Phoenix and South Phoenix and in Maryville, worked her way up through every possible leadership position at the city of Phoenix, was then recruited to be a police chief in Oxnard, California, where she did for the last 5 years. And then when our chief position opened, we did a national recruitment, and she rose to the top. You couldn't ask for a better leader for the Phoenix Police Department, and one more committed to police community relations. Jerry Williams is going to get not only a great local, but a national reputation as a thoughtful police leader, supported by the rank and file police officers, supported by our diverse communities, supported by the community as a whole. That's difficult to do. She's going to do it.
Last question. What do you think her most pressing needs are there as chief?
Oh, I still think it's building community trust, number one. We have been blessed in that regard. Chief Yoder did a great job. She's going to continue in that tradition. And then hiring. We have budgeted for over 400 new police officer positions in the city of Phoenix. We're not going to lower our standards. So anybody watching, if you're even thinking about wanting to be a police officer in the best department in the country, the Phoenix Police Department, now is the time to apply. We want to fill all those positions, and we want those positions to reflect the diversity of our city. So we want many women officers, Latino officers, African American officers, Asian officers. the best thing we could do to increase police community trust is have a department that looks like the city it serves.
All right. Mayor, good to have you here.
Good
Thanks
to see you.
for
Thank you so
joining us.
much.
Enrollment starts today for those shopping for a health insurance plan by way of the Affordable Care Act, but a visit to the Marketplace website finds fewer options and higher costs than offered last year. Joining us now is Swapna Reddy, a clinical assistant professor at ASU's College of Health Solutions. Good to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
What is the state of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare? What is the state of that program in Arizona?
So it's a little tough in Arizona. The picture isn't looking so great for 2017 in Arizona. What we're seeing is basically a 116% increase in premiums from 2016 to 2017 in Arizona, and it's the highest increase in the entire United States. So we definitely are not seeing a picture that we would exactly want here.
Why is that happening? Why are those increases happening?
So good question. Something that's important to know, in 2014, we actually had some of the lowest premiums in the entire United States, and we had one of the most robust insurance marketplaces. We had tons of insurers. We had actually 11 insurers in the marketplace, and we had the second lowest premiums in the entire United States. But a lot of what was happening was we had an existing fairly sick population here that needed insurance, and we had a lot of uninsured folks. And because insurance companies can't discriminate based on pre-existing conditions under the ACA, they really couldn't base the premiums on adjusted risk pools, which is what insurance companies tend to do. That's really the practice of insurance. It's how they determine premiums in the private market. Well, they couldn't do that, and so they kind of took a guess. And in a lot of ways, the guess was wrong in Arizona. There's another theory that in some ways they undersold the premiums, so they might have undercut the premiums because there was so much competition. Because one of the main purposes of the ACA is to create an Amazon of a marketplace for healthcare, and that was kind of what was happening in 2014.
So we had policies that were underpriced. We had a market that was oversaturated. Because I mean, 6 of these companies are leaving next year, and they're saying it's for financial reasons.
Right.
And Blue Cross, 51% hike. The other one was 75% here in Maricopa County. The only choice you have in Maricopa County, 75% hike. Are we now at a level that we should have been all along?
Well, I don't think that having reduced insurers are necessarily what we should have had all along. That's certainly not one of the main purposes of the ACA. Competition is central to the ACA. In terms of how much premiums cost, I think what's happening right now is the market is adjusting itself. And what we saw were a lot of sick people that needed healthcare and that ended up being high utilizers of healthcare in Arizona. And we didn't, frankly, have enough young, healthy people sign up to offset those costs. So until we get more young, healthy people, or just healthy people, or low utilizers of healthcare to sign up, we're really not going to be able to get that market adjustment that we need.
It's argued that in order to get those younger, healthier people involved, the penalty has to increase for not being involved, and to help those who are getting hit with these prices, more in the way of subsidies have to be involved. Either one of those things work in the equation?
Absolutely. We definitely need to get more young, healthy people involved. The penalties don't seem to be much of a penalty. So there is definitely talk that the penalties need to be more stringent. There's kind of two camps on that piece. In terms of the subsidies, that's a great point. It's very important to think about subsidies when we're thinking about insurance premiums, because even though the premiums seem really high, 74% of those that are enrolled in Arizona are eligible for subsidies. So they actually really mute the increase in the premium. So I'll give you a quick example. In 2016, the average premium increase ended up being about $324 per person, but when you applied the subsidies, it ended up being $120 per person. So they make a huge difference for the majority of the people enrolled in the marketplace.
Those increases in 2016, it has been argued again that if the Affordable Care Act had never happened, those increases, those who are against the plan say, we would never have seen those kinds of prices because the increases weren't happening that quickly. Those who are for Obamacare say that, are you kidding? If we had not had the ACA, the increases would be much higher. What do you think?
It's hard to say, because we base the market, we look at the market every single year. And so the ACA has been, we passed the ACA in 2010, the marketplace has been in effect in 2014. We can't look at the market without looking at what's happened with the ACA. That being said, I would argue that you cannot say that the prices would have been higher than they are today. We have 20 million people in the United States that are insured that were not insured before. In Arizona itself, there were 17% uninsurance rate in 2014. We're now at 10%.
So on the pro side, there are more people insured than before the ACA.
Absolutely.
And there's no sign of that abating?
No, and in fact, the projections find that in 2017 nationally, more people are going to be enrolled in the marketplace. And actually, if more people continue to enroll in the marketplace, that might create the market adjustment, and that might create the correction that we're looking for.
I was going to say, it would stand to reason that if everyone's fleeing and all these things are leaving the state and leaving the county, doesn't nature, at least the market, abhor a vacuum? Shouldn't some other companies be coming in saying, we got a chance here?
Yep. That's a great point. And I'll give you an example. In August this summer, Pinal County in Arizona was the only county in the state that did not have an insurer for a short period of time. And it got a lot of national press for that. And then what ended up happening is Blue Cross Blue Shield said, well, we'll come into Pinal County and we'll cover. I mean, insurance is a business, and I think insurance carriers are interested in making a profit. And I think that if they look in Arizona and look in 2017 and see that there's a profit to be made here, I have no doubt, frankly, that they'll come back to the state.
So for those who are with one of these companies that next year will not be offering, and they sign up today and they say, where'd my company go? What do they do? Is it an automatic shift over? How much say do they have? What happens?
Well, it depends on what county you're in. If you are in, say, Pima County, there's 3 insurers in Pima County. So if one of those are not your previous insurers, what you do is you look at what's available and shop around, basically, and figure out what's the best plan for you. Now, you can do that on your own on healthcare.gov, or there's lots of patient navigators and community advisors that can help with that. If you only have one choice, if you're in a county with only one choice, and there's 13 counties in Arizona that only have one choice, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's your choice.
That's it.
But something important to remember is even though there might not be many insurers, there are many plans. So Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering numerous plans. So there is some choice still available.
The off-marketplace plans,
yes,
I guess for the higher income folks, are they seeing premiums increasing?
They are forecasting premium increases as well. We'll see what those look like. They should not mirror what's happening in the marketplace, though.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
So not quite so much. Okay, so for those who say that this has been an unmitigated disaster, and we're hearing that on the campaign trail from a certain side of the aisle, and for others on the other side of the aisle saying, are you kidding? This is helping a lot of people get insured that otherwise would not have been insured. Who's right?
I don't know exactly who's right. I think that in all things that we discuss about the Affordable Care Act, it's complicated. It's not a disaster, and it's not perfect. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, and it sort of depends on who the population that you're speaking of. We know that there's a certain candidate that wants to repeal the ACA and has his own ideas about how to fix healthcare in the United States. There's another candidate that wants to expand the ACA, and one of the solutions that she is putting forth is a public option in the marketplace.
Public option is?
So public option is basically a government-sponsored insurance plan that it would So it's not government-sponsored healthcare, government-sponsored insurance plan that would compete with the private insurers in the marketplace.
Kind of a governor on the system then.
That's how it's sort of designed.
Yeah, and other people, this is the last question here, this is all theoretical here, but are we hurtling toward single payer where it's just like, you know, Medicare for all?
That, like everything else, depends on who you're talking to and what their opinion on the ACA kind of in the first place is. I would say we're not there yet. We're seeing the adjustments and the contractions of a major piece of umbrella legislation, and there is an opportunity in the next 2 years to see a major market adjustment. And if we don't see that market adjustment, then we're going to have to figure it out because, like I said, 20 million people are insured, and we need to figure out how to make that work for them.
So the death of Obamacare is so far greatly exaggerated.
I believe so.
All right, good to see you again. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thanks so much for having me.
And Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, a new survey suggests a slow and steady recovery for the local commercial real estate market. And we'll hear about what childhood adversity means to the well-being of communities. That's tomorrow on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.